Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 6, The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 56, 731, The Generous Rewards for Immortal Ascension Beings. 56th of Volume 7. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Clang. From the distant Xiaoyao Palace, the second temple bell chimed. A great demon official of the demon kingdom, his hair as white as snow yet his spirit vigorous, stood before the main entrance of the Immortal Tower's first floor, positioned 9 steps higher than the 31st sequence talents gathered on the Jade Plaza below. A crimson light flashed between his brows as he used psychic power, his voice resonating throughout Xiaoyao capital, to proclaim the declaration of life and death for the 100 realms on behalf of the demon kingdom and the demon monarch. This declaration, signed by all life realm lords after the human race endured the Nether Realm cataclysm, pledged mutual non-aggression and peaceful coexistence. Faced with survival, they would unite against the darkness. This was the origin of the Immortal Ascension competition, held every 60-year cycle. The great demon official then recited the spirit of the Immortal Ascension competition, praising the young talents who had topped the first sequence in the new 60-year cycle. For this ranking competition, the demon kingdom serves as host. We invite the demon monarch to represent the human race's high-ranking officials from the 172 life realms of southern Yingzhou in bestowing rewards upon the 1,230 new immortal ascension beings. Ascending to the immortal ranking is the highest honor for human cultivators, marking them as the future pillars and hope of our race. 5 centuries hence, on the Nirvana realm, we hope to see you all again. The great demon official rolled up the scroll, his gaze burning as he fixed it on the immortal ascension beings below. He roared, "Immortal ascension competition is not a mere 3-year endeavor. It ends only when you reach the Nirvana realm. Immortal ascension competition is not a mere 3-year endeavor. It ends only when you reach the other shore." On the slopes of Lake Gazing Green Mountain, the 9th generation immortal ascendants roared in unison, their spirits soaring with anticipation for their future pursuit of immortality. Among the 1,230 chosen, each was a prodigy, selected from billions. Whether they were the foremost in the life realm or the strongest among hundreds of millions of sects and clans, their innate talent and intelligence were unparalleled. Their cultivation speed and combat prowess far surpassed their peers, and they believed themselves to be chosen by destiny. A mere 1,000 years was trivial, the ultimate goal was the true immortal of the Xuanhuan realm. Demon Lord Yu Baxian's clone body materialized atop the immortal tower. Though merely a clone, it was indistinguishable from his true form. The surrounding space warped around him, and even transcendence struggled to discern its true nature. After delivering a speech of encouragement and expectation, the Demon Lord accepted a cosmic pouch presented by a great demon official. With a gentle flick of his finger, the pouch soared into the sky. Whoosh! Suspended in the sky, the pouch opened downward, unleashing a vortex of martial mystic chi. Orbs of radiant light, each containing a jade box, erupted from the pouch like 1,000 falling stars, descending toward the 1,239th generation immortal ascendants. On the distant shores of North Lake, all cultivators held their breath, leaning forward with envious and jealous gazes. This was especially true for those who had failed to secure a spot in the competition, as well as for young talents like Kang Li and Tang Wanchou, whose cultivation had yet to reach the required level. All eyes were on them, and they reaped both fame and fortune. The next opportunity wouldn't come for another 60 years. For most cultivators, missing this chance meant missing it for life. A third sequence immortal ascension being opened a jade box and exclaimed in astonishment, unable to suppress his joy, "It's a 7,000-year-old millennium essence herb, the Sea of Learning coral flower. It possesses sentience and cultivation comparable to a 4th realm immortal realm martial mystic cultivator. It feels even stronger than me and has already been sealed." Such a treasure was beyond his reach, even as the eldest brother of the ancient sect, given his current cultivation level. "Mine is an 8,000-year-old millennium essence herb. It seems to enhance cultivation." Another high-ranking 3rd sequence martial mystic cultivator roared with laughter, his voice echoing throughout the earth-ranking Jade Steel Manor. The eldest brother of the ancient sect, who had received the 7,000-year-old millennium essence herb, instantly felt a pang of bitterness. A mere 1,000-year difference in age could multiply the value of an essence herb several times over. Despite being in the same 3rd sequence, the other cultivator, ranked just a few hundred places higher, received a reward of vastly superior quality. Even if he spent a century, he might never earn enough spiritual crystals to purchase an 8,000-year-old essence medicine herb. "If only I had cultivated more diligently before," many immortal ascension beings thought after receiving their rewards. So the reward for the 2nd sequence immortal ascension beings is an immortal bone. On the staggered stone steps of Lake Gazing Green Mountain, 202nd sequence immortal ascension beings trembled with excitement. The immortal bones in their boxes glowed with golden light or shimmered like jade, each inscribed with Tao scriptures that seemed to have grown naturally upon them. Legend held that these bones contained interwoven laws, though their current cultivation levels prevented them from perceiving or comprehending them. Such treasures as immortal bones were beyond their reach before. Great immortal cultivators in the 5th, 6th, and 7th realms would pay exorbitant prices to seek and acquire them. Immortal bones weren't merely for refining into the body to enhance one's physical form. Rather, they were intimately connected to the Tao, drawing one closer to it. Carrying an immortal bone made it easier to attain the realms of profound sense and harmonious Tao, and to draw laws into one's body to forge the nirvana heavenly core. The higher one's ranking, the larger and purer the immortal bone. The first sequence immortal ascension beings received no immortal bone as a reward. This was because nearly all of them were true disciples of the ancient sects, emperor's disciples, or Tao technique successors, for whom obtaining immortal bone was already a trivial matter. This fundamental difference set them apart from the second sequence immortal ascension beings. In essence, the distinct rewards for each of the 3 sequences were treasures that they would otherwise be unable to acquire through ordinary means. Shui Ding's voice rang out from the ranks. This 60-year cycle's reward for the first sequence is a Tao-nurturing crystal. Excellent. With a crystal this massive, once I break my 5th immortal shackle, I can likely cultivate from the early 5th realm to its peak within just a few years. A single step ahead leads to continuous dominance. How can the 2nd and 3rd sequence martial mystic cultivators ever catch up? Hearing this, Wenren Tinghai, who stood at the very top of the 2nd sequence, wore a grim expression. Tonight, he had been pushed out of the 1st sequence, now ranked 1st in the 2nd sequence. A significant reason for this demotion was his failure to suppress Li Wei's rare insect. Immortal bone, given Wenren Tinghai's status, could be obtained through other means. Tao-nurturing crystals, however, were exceedingly rare and could only be found in the fallen immortal realm. Revered as immortal realm artifacts, they were more than 10 times as precious as Dragon Soul Source Light or Immortal Soul Origin Light. By the 5th realm, Origin Light had already lost its efficacy. Mo Duanfeng stood tall and straight, smiling. Well said. My anticipation for the future has surged. Perhaps I too can achieve the miracle of reaching the Nirvana realm within a 60-year cycle. Of course, I'll need to rely on the nether domain and time formations. The top 3 spots on the immortal ranking, in addition to Tao-nurturing crystals, each came with an emperor medicine herb. For any sentient being capable of cultivation, 10,000 years marked a critical threshold. Crossing it meant a profound transformation, failing meant annihilation. The precise duration was 10,800 years, 1 Wei. 12 Wei constituted 1 yuan, equivalent to 129,600 years. The heavenly emperors earned their title by approaching the Xuanhuan realm, their lifespans potentially nearing 1 Wei. Most, however, only lived 8 or 9,000 years, still far exceeding the lifespans of other top-tier transcendents. Even essence medicine herbs that failed to survive the minor cycle tribulation would wither and perish. In short, emperor medicine herbs were exceedingly rare. Li Wei put away the Tao-nurturing crystal and opened the jade box containing the emperor medicine herb. Whoosh! A tidal wave of medicinal fragrance surged forth. In the void, a massive, morning glory-like phantom materialized, its tendrils connecting the clouds to lake-gazing Green Mountain in a dazzling, mystical spectacle. This emperor medicine herb was called red dust entanglement. A first-grade emperor medicine herb, it was several thousand years older than the ones Jiyu Junxiang and Tang Wanzhou had obtained. It's sealed, unable to move. If the seal were broken, how powerful would it be? 7th realm of the immortal realm. Li Wei's mind raced. He knew this was a treasure he could never afford or acquire with his current cultivation level. He quickly closed the jade box. Behind him, a different medicinal fragrance coalesced into a tangible white mist, spreading across the entire jade plaza. Amidst gasps of surprise, Li Wei turned to see Tang Wanzhou's emperor medicine herb in its jade box had begun to take human form, its ginseng roots swaying like 3,000 strands of silver silk. She nonchalantly released Big Phoenix and Third Phoenix from a lantern-shaped spatial artifact. Plucking off the ginseng roots, she fed them to the phoenixes. After consuming the emperor medicine herb, Big Phoenix and Third Phoenix radiated silver light, their spirits surging as they flapped their wings and darted joyfully among the crowd. The emperor medicine herb's spiritual essence and potency were overwhelming. Their metallic claws clicked against the jade-tiled ground with sharp clack-clack sounds. Cultivators from various realms had long suspected that Tang Wanzhou's challenge to Jiyu Junxiang was likely to assist Li Wei. After all, both originated from the Lingxiao realm and the Sentinel Spirit Army, sharing a deep bond. Yet, when Tang Wanzhou released 2 king-tier strange insect larvae, the crowd froze in astonishment, finding it utterly unbelievable. Such trust went far beyond mere camaraderie. Zhang Ning, veiled in silver-white gauze, stood a few steps away, her gaze fixed on Third Phoenix as it darted back and forth before her. Her eyes then shifted to Tang Wanzhou and Li Wei, who stood at the forefront, engaged in telepathic communication. Her slender, willow-leaf eyebrows furrowed slightly. Almost unconsciously, she turned her head to search for Zuoqiu hunting halfway up the mountainside. Releasing 2 rare insects and feeding them emperor medicine herb in such a setting, could this be a careless act? Tang Wanzhou was no simpleton, her actions clearly carried ulterior motives. Third phoenix soared up the 9 jade steps, wobbling as it landed beside the great demon official. It spat out the black iron treasure mace, gripped it in its claws, and clanged it against the ground, its gaze sweeping over the young talents below. Feeling generous today, it announced, I'll treat you to a demonstration of my original mace technique. Prepare to be embarrassed. Li Wei immediately rushed forward, pinned the creature down, and dragged it away, fearing it would truly embarrass itself. Meanwhile, atop Immortal Tower, the elder powerhouses of the human race's various life realms naturally noticed the commotion caused by Big Phoenix and Third Phoenix below. Lu Tianchen's usually stern face cracked into a rare, pleased smile. It seems the Sword Dao Imperial Court's #1 scholar has taken a liking to the Dao technique successor from Lingxiao Palace. One ranks first, the other third. If this match comes to fruition, Lingxiao Palace will gain 2 rapidly rising Nirvana realm experts within a century. Why wait a century? With the Nether Domain's assistance, it could happen in just a few decades. Bai Fengtang sighed in admiration. Truly, the younger generation is formidable. When I was their age, I wasn't nearly as strong. Judging by their potential, they're destined to become Heavenly Emperor at the very least. Lu Tianchen had spoken those words before the Sword Dao Imperial Court deliberately, under orders from Yu Yaozi. He never expected anyone to actually agree with him. They hadn't discussed this beforehand. Lu Tianchen seized the opportunity, saying, Tang Wanzhou and Ji Junxiang's talent and intelligence are no less than the Demon Emperor's holy embryos. Their chances of becoming the martial mystic Dao Heavenly Emperor are far from slim. Lady Ji Chun interjected, Lu Tianchen, are you suggesting the Sword Dao Imperial Court is spending vast resources, equivalent to those reserved for #1 scholars, to cultivate talent for the Lingxiao Palace? Are they preparing a wedding gown for another? Each party benefits from this arrangement. No one owes the other anything, Lu Tianchen replied calmly, revealing no weakness. 3 years from now, this venerable one will find a way to recall Tang Wanzhou to the cave void camp. The Transcendents present all new Lu Tianchen's stern and upright character. None would suspect that such a righteous man would deliberately set a trap with his words. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6, The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 57, 732, 5 days later. 57th of Volume 7. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Bai Fengtang said, Old Lu, you must keep your word. The life realm's mandate I cultivated in the Lingxiao realm cannot fall into the hands of outsiders. The Heavenly Emperor of the Sword Dao Imperial Court and the old ancestor of the Bai clan sat solemnly in the inner hall, their figures shrouded in dim light, their features blurred. Finally, the Heavenly Emperor spoke. The Sword Dao Imperial Court nurtured her with #1 scholar resources. We will never allow her to become another's bride. Recalling her to the cave void camp is acceptable, but marrying her to the Lingxiao Palace is not for you to decide. Since she is a disciple of the Heavenly Emperor naturally has the final say. Lu Tianchen flung his sleeves in a gesture of displeasure and fell silent. Yet inwardly, he breathed a sigh of relief. He had finally carried out Yu Yaozi's instructions. For an upright man like him, engaging in such treacherous schemes felt deeply unsettling. He knew Yu Yaozi's true target wasn't Tang Wanzhou or the Sword Dao Imperial Court, but the Snow Sword Tang Court itself. Big Phoenix and Third Phoenix, those attention-seeking show-offs, had already been suppressed back into the lantern vessel. Standing on the 9th-tier jade steps, the great demon official began to solemnly proclaim the stringent rules and laws of the Immortal Ascension competition. The Immortal Ascension competition is intended to resolve disputes within the 100 realms, not to create more hatred and conflict. First law, any Immortal Ascension being who maliciously kills an opponent during combat will face penalties. Minor offenses will result in forfeiture, with the Jade Tome being awarded to the Dead's faction. Severe violations will be punished by the Demon Kingdom, with judgment by the enforcement group. Li Wei had studied this law thoroughly. Though seemingly strict, it was actually quite lenient. The term, malicious, primarily referred to killing an opponent after they had already surrendered or withdrawn from the fight. Second law, indiscriminate killing of innocents is strictly prohibited. Combat must not be brought to villages, market towns, or urban areas. Causing significant casualties will result in forfeiture, transfer of the Jade Tome, and judgment by the enforcement group. Third law, during the 3-year competition period, participants may not remain within cities protected by great formations for more than 3 days. After leaving a city, they may not re-enter for 1 month. Fourth law, the use of any talismans, formations, or other methods not crafted by 9th-generation immortal ascendants is strictly forbidden. Violators will immediately forfeit. Fifth law, Any life realm elder who secretly participates in the competition or interferes with the outcome will be punished according to the severity of their actions, up to and including execution. Sixth law. The laws and regulations were numerous, and every cultivator participating in the Immortal Ascension competition had long since studied them thoroughly, understanding their intricacies. Of course, no matter how many laws there were, they were only effective within the scope of surveillance. After the proclamation was complete, the great demon official announced in a loud voice, by the Zhongsheng Academy Emperor, the 36-star heavenly mirrors shall now be activated. Whoosh! From the summit of Immortal Tower, spiritual light erupted like a blazing sun piercing through the clouds, its radiance instantly spreading tens of thousands of miles, turning the night sky into day. 36 shimmering starlights appeared in the void. The starlights descended toward the ground, growing larger as they fell. One of them hovered directly above Immortal Tower, forming a circular mirror of light over a mile in diameter. This was the main mirror of the 36-star heavenly mirrors. The main mirror remains in Xiaoyao capital, suspended above North Lake. 1 mirror is sent to the Holy Capital, 2 to the Sword Dao Imperial Court, 3 to Ji City, 4 to Calamity Crossing Temple, 5 to Zhongsheng Academy, 6 to Wolf Sovereign Wilderness. The 36-star heavenly mirrors were a set of supreme artifacts capable of recording psychic power, light and shadow. Half of the mirrors remained suspended in fixed positions in the void, monitoring contested areas such as Wolf Sovereign Wilderness and the 14 prefectures and 100 cities. The other half were controlled by the enforcement group. Once all the star heavenly mirrors were activated, a third melodious chime echoed from Xiaoyao Palace. The Immortal Ascension competition has officially begun. You have 15 days to return to the contested areas and prepare your strategies. As the great demon official's voice faded, a series of wind-splitting sounds erupted across the lake-gazing Green Mountain region. At least half of the Immortal Ascension beings swiftly departed, vanishing into the crowds along North Lake. Nangong's gaze met Li Weiyi's. Li Weiyi. Take care. I'll be waiting for you in the Wolf Sovereign Wilderness. With this farewell, she flashed down the mountain. Young Lord, Li Weiyi called out, stopping Tang Wanzhou, who had already stepped onto the jade steps, stay in Xiaoyao capital to recover for 5 days, then meet me outside the city. Tang Wanzhou glanced back, paused briefly, then transformed into a blur, appearing moments later on the lake shore several miles away, swallowed by the night. A fragrant breeze swept in from behind. Zhang Ning materialized beside him, her gaze following his. The young lord of the Northern Territory is indeed a captivating woman. Cherish her well. With these emotionless words, she turned and descended the mountain. After descending a few steps, Zhang Ning paused, turned back, her eyes like deep, ancient pools. I still need 2 more allies. You chose 5th Phoenix and 7th Phoenix, Tang Wanzhou took Big Phoenix and 3rd Phoenix. How about lending me 2nd Phoenix and 4th Phoenix for 3 years? I promise to take good care of them and treat them well. Only 2 figures remained on the summit of lake-gazing Green Mountain, one ascending, the other descending. Zhuoqiu Hongting stood halfway up the mountain, her gaze frequently drifting toward the peak. Li Weiyi said, you helped me cultivate the spring at the soles of my feet. Logically, I shouldn't refuse your request. But I want to know, do you genuinely need help, or are you just reacting to Tang Wanzhou taking Big Phoenix and 3rd Phoenix? Zhang Ning didn't answer directly. Instead, she countered with, do you distrust me? I will always trust Zhang Ning, Li Weiyi replied. This statement was his way of telling her that he didn't trust the Rice Mother or the Rice Palace. Zhang Ning disliked answering questions directly, preferring to keep her thoughts hidden. She countered again, is the Sword Dao Imperial Court truly trustworthy? She said that as long as she lives, no one will harm Big Phoenix and 3rd Phoenix. She loves Big Phoenix. Li Weiyi insisted. I could love 2nd Phoenix too, Zhang Ning blurted out. After a moment of silence, she met his gaze with her clear, bright eyes. If Zhang Ning made you the same promise, would you lend them to me? Li Weiyi took a deep breath of the icy air, then released 2nd Phoenix, 4th Phoenix, and 6th Phoenix. I'm sorry, 2nd Phoenix is most loyal to me and cannot leave my side. But you can borrow 4th Phoenix and 6th Phoenix for 3 years. Why would Li Weiyi refuse help in raising his rare insects? In terms of stubbornness and adherence to principles, Zhang Ning far surpassed Tang Wanzhou. Once she made a promise, Li Weiyi trusted her implicitly. Among the 7 Phoenix-winged moth emperors, 2nd Phoenix possessed the highest intelligence. Instantly understanding the situation, it spread its twin wings to block 4th Phoenix and 6th Phoenix, who were charging directly at Zhang Ning. Boss Li, it's precisely because of my unwavering loyalty to you that you should send me to Zhang Ning's side. Unlike those 2, who charged off before you even finished speaking, I would never betray your trust, 2nd Phoenix argued logically. Zhang Ning saw the amusement sparkling in Li Weiyi's eyes and immediately understood his true intentions. 2nd Phoenix, 4th Phoenix, come with me. With a surge of spiritual qi, she swept up the 2 phoenix-winged moth emperors and soared into the night sky. In the void, second Phoenix's jubilant voice rang out. Aning, did you know we seven have a 3-year pact? After 3 years, we'll hold a duel to re-establish our rankings. You can't let us lose. 5th Phoenix and 7th Phoenix, who rank lower, have been following Boss Li. They're bound to improve rapidly, putting immense pressure on me. I can't even sleep now, I'm so anxious, 4th Phoenix added. In an instant, Zhang Ning vanished into the night. 6th Phoenix stood alone beside Li Wei, head bowed, tears welling in its eyes. With its wings folded, it resembled an injured quail, utterly silent. Rejected 3 times, it felt like an abandoned child. Li Wei gently patted its head, trying to soothe its distress. The gesture only made things worse. The tears in its large eyes overflowed, streaming down its face like a waterfall. Xuanhuan Hongting ascended the mountain path, her Taoist robes billowing in the wind. She smiled knowingly, see. This is Zhang Ning. If she truly wanted to leave, she wouldn't have descended the steps so deliberately, one by one. She's playing mind games. Her decision to take 2nd Phoenix and 4th Phoenix is a subtle power play against Tang Wanzhou, a way of expressing her emotions through indirect means. Perhaps she's even including me in her calculations. Li Wei looked at her, his eyes filled with apology. I'm sorry. Regardless of the circumstances, Xuanhuan Hongting was still his publicly acknowledged fiancé. Earlier, Tang Wanzhou had deliberately released Big Phoenix and 3rd Phoenix. While this incident would undoubtedly subject Li Wei and Zhang Ning to public scrutiny, Xuanhuan Hongting was the true innocent victim. Brothers never apologize to each other, Xuanhuan Hongting said with casual nonchalance. She crouched slightly and stroked the chin of 6th Phoenix, who was nestled against Li Wei's thigh. What's wrong with this little one? Why is she crying so bitterly? She failed to qualify for the Immortal Ascension competition, Li Wei explained, 3 times she's been rejected. Now she's the only useless 6th Phoenix left, unable to participate in the Immortal Ascension competition. Then come with me. Xuanhuan Qingting needs a companion. Xuanhuan Hongting smiled and stood up again. 6th Phoenix tilted her head, her large, round eyes fixed on Xuanhuan Hongting. She spread her claws and pounced, wrapping her arms tightly around her. After a moment, Xuanhuan Hongting took 6th Phoenix's hand and began walking down the mountain. They all call you, useless old Lu. She asked curiously, do you really have no innate Dao technique? 6th Phoenix nodded vigorously, then shook her head just as vehemently. I'm not useless old Lu. Hong Ting, I'll tell you a secret, they've given you nicknames too. Xuanhuan Lu Ting. The incompetent fiancé. They made them up, not me. Xuanhuan Hongting stopped abruptly, turning to glare at Li Wei, her expression darkening. I'll go get the Jade Tome from the Deputy Sentinel Lord first, Li Wei said. He activated his Heavenly Tribulation movement technique, transforming into a bolt of lightning that tore through the air, unleashing the fastest speed of the younger generation. Jade Willow Manor. After 5 days of relentless effort, Li Wei finally refined a single 5 Fiends Heavenly Wind into the Wind chapter of the Earthly Tome, integrating it into the Great Wind, Fire, Thunder, and Lightning formation. As Shui Ding had warned, the 5 Fiends Heavenly Wind proved exceptionally difficult to restrain and control. During the refinement process, Li Wei repeatedly injured himself. With my current psychic power cultivation, I can only control 1 5 Fiends Heavenly Wind. The remaining 2 will have to wait until I break through to the Holy Spiritual Psychic Master 5th Realm before I can refine them. Li Wei gazed ahead, a satisfied smile spreading across his face. The Great Formation, with the 4 chapters of the Earthly Tome, Wind, Fire, Thunder, and Lightning, serving as its core and 8 formation flags as its foundation, stood complete. This was his most formidable means of breaking through the encirclement, traversing tens of thousands of miles, and reaching the great ancient land of the Tao of Pills. It's almost time. I should go find Yu Jingxuan. I wonder if the body-transcending pill has arrived in Xiaoyao capital yet. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6. The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 58, 733, Another Lantern Festival. 58th of Volume 7. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. Li Wei stored the 4 pages of the Earthly Tome and the 8 formation flags into his spirit realm, located between his eyebrows. He then organized the remaining items on his person. The governor's robe had already been removed. Its spatial evasion ability ultimately relied on the spatial formation crafted by Zhenhai Guanwu within the garment, a forbidden item in the Immortal Ascension competition. The Jade Boat was also unusable. Its defensive formation and flight formation were both crafted by predecessors. The 5,100 low-grade spiritual crystals he had obtained from the Fate Gambling House had been mostly spent on cultivation resources and materials for talisman refinement, formation deployment, and puppet crafting. For example, he had finally been able to purchase the high-grade spiritual pill he had long coveted but couldn't afford, the Holy King Star Heavenly Pill. Including the blood-floating pagoda demon armor, Li Wei wore 4 layers of armor, all covered by the 8 divisions profound robe, a myriad inscriptions artifact robe as wide as a cloak and as black as night. This robe had been lent to him by Lu Tianqian. Not only did it provide extraordinary defense, but it also granted incredible speed, mastery of the 5 elements escape techniques, and the ability to easily evade poison and conceal oneself. Jade tomes. Li Wei had obtained 2 of these palm-sized, indestructible artifacts, impervious even to the attacks of Immortal Realm martial mystic cultivators. The first tome was inscribed with the words, "Life-preserving spring," on its front. The second tome bore the inscription, "One county," signifying that whoever claimed it would gain control of a county's territory. These tomes would be exchanged for territory after 3 years of the Immortal Ascension competition. The contested region between the Holy Hall's Life Realm and the Demon Kingdom consisted of 3 prefectures recently restored to light after being shrouded in darkness by the Nether Realm of the Dead. The Immortal Ascension competition had divided these 3 prefectures into 30 counties and 300 districts, with each side holding jade tomes representing half of the territory. For these 2 powers, the contested region was newly established, making the allocation of jade tomes relatively straightforward. However, in contested regions like the Wolf Solitary Wasteland 36 prefectures between the Demon Kingdom and the Holy Dynasty, the distribution of jade tomes was far more complex, requiring extensive negotiations between high-ranking officials before any conflict. Some jade tomes might represent an entire county, a valuable mineral vein, or even a vast prefecture spanning thousands of miles, their value so immense it was terrifying to contemplate. Detailed tactics were in place for how the 3rd generation of Yu's Immortal Ascension beings would wield the jade tomes, specifying who would carry which tome. The territorial dispute had 2 additional rules. First, each Immortal Ascension being must possess at least 1 jade tome. Losing a tome meant elimination. Second, the capture of a jade tome during the territorial dispute was only valid if it occurred within the contested zone. The Immortal Ascension being holding a territorial jade tome must remain within the contested zone for more than half of the 3-year period. For the Holy Hall's Life Realm, securing as much of the contested 3-state region as possible was naturally desirable. However, they could accept failure if necessary. After stowing the 2 jade tomes, Li Wei left the room and joined Xuanhuan Hongting. Xuanhuan stood in the courtyard, clad in blood-floating pagoda demon armor and wearing a fake yellow dragon sword at her waist. Like Li Wei, she had her hair tied up in a bun, dressed as a man, and wore a jade crown to secure her hair, projecting an air of calm readiness for battle. Li Wei studied her for a moment, then removed his 8 divisions profound robe and draped it over her shoulders. The enemy will be far more formidable than we imagine. Let's stick together for now. We'll split up to lure them out after 10 days. In 10 days, I'll return the 8 divisions profound robe to you, Xuanhuan said, that way, they won't be able to tell which is real. Then I should wear it first. Li Wei reached for the 8 divisions profound robe, but she wrapped it tightly around herself. Xuanhuan slipped her arms through the sleeves of her robe, drew her sword, and stepped out of the manor gate first. Whoosh! A biting wind swept through the wide street, stinging her face. Li Wei closed the gate and turned to face the figures of the Demon Kingdom's Immortal Ascension beings who had been guarding the manor for 5 days. Swish! Swish! The sound of wind being cut through filled the air. The 9th generation Immortal Ascendants, who had surrounded Jade Willow Manor on all sides, converged around the gate. Simultaneously, 6 or 7 message talismans shot into the sky, reporting Li Wei's departure from the manor. To whom these messages were sent remained unknown. Whoosh! Prince Tulu, one of the demon race's 5 first sequence powerhouses, folded his bat-like wings and landed atop a 4-story pavilion across the street. Clad in the blood-floating pagoda demon armor, his body was enveloped in swirling demonic chi. High above, the demon race's first sequence powerhouse, the ghost marsh pung bird, shot white beams of light from its double pupils toward the ground. With over 50% of its bloodline refined to that of an ancient immortal giant beast, it was said its eyes could pierce invisibility and see minute details, allowing it to spot moving figures thousands of miles away. Wenren Tinghai had set up a table in the middle of the street, where he and Ku Yao were brewing tea and playing Go. Seeing Li Wei emerge from the manor, Wenren Tinghai smiled and raised his cup in a distant toast. Brother Wei, I thought you'd wait until the Lantern Festival. Come and have a drink. I wouldn't dare, Li Wei replied. I fear you might poison me. Where's Shan Sheng? Li Wei didn't see Monk Shan. Master Shan said he'll appear when you least expect him, delivering the final blow, Ku Yao said. Knowing Li Wei feared Shan Sheng most among their group, he deliberately used this tactic to create psychological pressure. Ku Yao's tall, slender frame reminded Li Wei of Earth's supermodels. You have 10 days left, Ku Yao continued. Can you escape the Demon Kingdom in time? Spare your concern, second ranked, Li Wei retorted. First, try keeping up with us and tracking our movements. With that, Li Wei and Zhuoqiu Hongting activated their body techniques and surged forward. Report. I've recorded their new sense and spiritual chi signatures, and distributed the data to all immortal ascension beings. Footprint sizes recorded. Footstep patterns logged. Clothing details, eye expressions, and demeanor, all recorded. Pay special attention to Zhuoqiu Hongting, she's likely preparing to use the transformation technique to create confusion. Confirmed. This is Li Wei's true body. The one who left with the Holy Dynasty at dawn on New Year's Day was a decoy. I'm tracking their movements from the sky. As expected, they're heading toward the Central Plains Immortal Dynasty's camp. The moment Li Wei and Zhuoqiu Hongting moved, all the immortal ascension beings of the Demon Kingdom faction stirred. Ku Yao and Wenren Tinghai rose unhurriedly and boarded a puppet beast carriage, which then glided away. Members of the enforcement group from the Sentinel Spirit Army, Holy Dynasty, Demon Kingdom, and Holy Hall's Life Realm, along with a starry sky mirror suspended high above, pursued Li Wei and Zhuoqiu Hongting as they flew off. Clearly, the entire world knew the Jade Tome of the life-preserving spring was undoubtedly on Li Wei. His every move would draw the attention of countless immortal ascension beings, igniting the most intense clash in the early stages of the immortal ascension competition. Almost the instant Li Wei and Zhuoqiu Hongting stepped out of Jade Willow Manor's gates, the images on the starry sky mirrors floating above North Lake in Xiaoyao capital, the Holy Dynasty, crossing Calamity Temple, Zhongsheng Academy, and other locations across the realm shifted to focus on them. Finally, they've moved. Cultivators from every life realm had been eagerly discussing when Li Wei would emerge from Jade Willow Manor. 4 hours later, the Yuheng Immortal Dynasty's convoy escorted Li Wei and Zhuoqiu Hongting out of Xiaoyao capital, stopping just beyond the West City Gate. Yu Jingxuan and Su Yuan dismounted to bid them farewell. Yu Jingxuan gripped Li Wei's wrist tightly. Brother Wei, are you sure you don't need my help? You know, the only reason I've lingered in Xiaoyao capital this long was to test my skills against Southern Yingzhou's most outstanding heavens chosen. But since you topped the rankings, how can I challenge you now? Su Yuan sighed. It's a pity I couldn't find Shan Sheng these past few days. I was hoping for a Buddhist Taoist showdown. Jingxuan, Su Yuan, I deeply appreciate your kindness. Li Wei replied, when I reach Central Plains, I'll be sure to visit you both. Li Wei watched the Yuheng Immortal Dynasty's convoy vanish into the northern sky before turning to face Qiyuan, who stood atop the city gate, and the ghost marsh pung bird circling in the sky. Let's go, Zhuoqiu Hongting said. First, we'll try earth tunneling to see how they're tracking us. Wait. Li Wei's psychic power had already sensed Big Phoenix and Third Phoenix. He glanced westward. Tang Wanzhou's puppet beast carriage glided smoothly across the icy road, stopping 30 meters away. Li Wei glanced at Zhuoqiu Hongting before walking toward the distant carriage. The driver was Tuo Badao, a veteran great immortal cultivator from the northern territory of the Lingxiao realm. Li Wei didn't board the carriage. Instead, he handed a medicinal pill bottle containing a body-transcending pill through the window. Tang Wanzhou accepted the pill with a solemn expression. I hope by next year, we'll both have cultivated enough to challenge the 8th generation immortal cultivators. Also, my left arm has recovered 30%. I imagine Ji Junxiang is in a similar state. Hurry back now, Zhuoqiu Hongting is waiting for you. Uncle Dao, let's move. The puppet beast carriage rolled out through the city gates. Wenren Tinghai, riding atop a puppet beast, his long hair framing his face, sighed. Miss Hongting's talent rivals Tang Wanzhou's, if not surpasses it. She's destined to become a true disciple of the Calamity Crossing Temple. How can she endure what ordinary people cannot? As far as I know, the current situation in the Lingxiao realm is a stalemate between the Zhuoqiu sect and the Snow Sword Tang court, both ancient clans, with all other factions having submitted. Since Lord Tanhua is so indignant on my behalf, why not help me kill Tang Wanzhou? Zhuoqiu Hongting suggested with a smile. Wenren Tinghai replied, if Miss Hongting helps us secure the Jade Tome of the life-preserving spring, we'll agree to that condition. Brother Wei, Zhuoqiu Hongting seemed serious about killing Tang Wanzhou. Li Wei knew that each enemy they faced would be more formidable than the last. Any weakness he showed would be exploited. Fortunately, he shared a deep friendship with Zhuoqiu Hongting, and she would never let her emotions cloud her judgment on the eve of a major battle. Otherwise, their bond would surely have fractured. Wenren Tinghai, I want to kill you too. This isn't a joke. Be careful. Li Wei activated the Earth Lion movement technique. The surrounding soil liquefied, undulating like waves. Grabbing Zhuoqiu Hongting's hand, he turned and leapt underground, mounting the colossal Earth Lion and fleeing at breakneck speed. Above ground, silence reigned, leaving no trace of their passage. I'll track them. Prince Tulu spread his bat wings and swooped down from the sky, unleashing the Bat Clan's innate Dao technique. He emitted an eerie, inaudible shriek, then listened intently, quickly pinpointing Li Wei and Zhuoqiu Hongting's escape route. Under Prince Tulu's guidance, the Demon Kingdom's immortal ascension beings mobilized, each employing their unique methods to pursue the fleeing pair. Inside the puppet carriage, Kuyao chanted a passage from a scripture. Instantly, a dark spiritual light erupted, engulfing a radius of 30 meters. From within the spiritual light, two monk puppets emerged, the Heavenly Gang Monk and the Earth Fiend Monk. The Heavenly Gang Monk moved with the agility of an ape, each leap covering over half a mile across the ground. The Earth Fiend Monk exhaled a breath, transforming the earth into a murky yellow gaseous state that surged from the depths to pursue Li Wei and Zuoqiu Hongting. Experts from the Demon Kingdom's faction unleashed their individual techniques, advancing southward like a tidal wave, determined to deny Li Wei any chance to escape or hide. Over the next several days, Li Wei and Zuoqiu Hongting employed every trick they knew. They infiltrated towns using the transformation technique to disguise themselves, and activated divine speed talismans to achieve absolute speed. On the 10th day, the 15th day of the Lunar New Year, the Lantern Festival, at dusk, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with fiery hues, Li Wei sat in meditation by the riverbank, replenishing his depleted spiritual qi and spiritual light. Those who attain immortal ascension are truly extraordinary, Zuoqiu Hongting remarked, gazing at the sky, we can't shake them off. The ghost marsh pung bird still circled high above. Moreover, maintaining a safe altitude of 3 kilometers made it nearly impossible to shoot down. Zuoqiu Hongting had initially believed that the Demon Kingdom's immortal ascension beings would require guidance from older, more powerful cultivators to track them down. Now, it seemed even the younger generation posed an insurmountable challenge. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6, The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 59, 734, Surrounded by Danger, Ambushed on All Sides. 59th of Volume 7. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Li Wei, fully restored to his peak condition, opened his eyes. Not only can't I shake them off, but their pursuit formation is remarkably stable. The distance between them ensures that an immortal ascension being can reach any point within 3 breaths, leaving me no opportunity to pick them off one by one. Kuyao's strategic deployment far surpasses Wenrenting Hai's. It seems your only hope tonight is to outrun them, Zuoqiu Hongting said, unfolding a map. From here to Crescent Moon Pass on the Demon Kingdom border is 4,000 li. Beyond the pass lies the 10,000 li wide Nether Realm of the Dead, a region dominated by corpse lake swamps, terrain that favors you. You must cover these 4,000 li and reach the swamps before the 4th quarter of midnight. For this distance, have the 5th Phoenix and 7th Phoenix take turns carrying you. Conserve your spiritual qi as much as possible. It won't be that simple, Li Wei said, rising to his feet and gazing south, as if already sensing the ordeal that awaited him. If he failed to endure this night, his immortal ascension competition would end here. Li Wei noticed a new betting pool at the Fate Gambling House. Many cultivators had bet against him carrying the Jade Tome of the life-preserving spring and seeing the morning sun of the 16th day of the first lunar month. This had nothing to do with the 5 days he'd spent in Xiaoyao capital. Even without the delay, he wouldn't have reached the great ancient land of the Tao of Pills, he would have been intercepted somewhere along the way. The first battle might well be the final one. Zuoqiu Hongting folded up the map and activated the transformation technique, transforming into Li Wei's likeness. Jump into the water, she said. I'll take off the 8 divisions profound robe and give it to you. I'll head west, chasing the setting sun. You go east, into the darkness. I've already told you the location of the great ancient land of the Tao of Pills. If I'm not forced to concede defeat, I'll find you there. No, you keep the 8 divisions profound robe, Li Wei said after a moment's thought. Watch out for the sky's crossbows. If you get hit, you won't even have time to surrender. Immortal ascension beings from the Demon Kingdom faction began to appear across the icy wilderness, converging on them like a vast army. Splash. Li Wei and Zuoqiu Hongting plunged into the bone-chilling river, using the water escape technique to travel swiftly for 100 miles. Then, they burst from the water simultaneously, each affixing a divine speed talisman before dashing off in opposite directions, one west, one east. The sky darkened, leaving only a faint glimmer on the horizon. The Demon Kingdom's faction had anticipated this tactic, but after scrutinizing every trace and aura, they couldn't determine which was Li Wei's true form. Using divine speed talismans leaves no spiritual qi signature. The river washed away their scent, rendering the ghost marsh pung bird's ghost eye useless. Ku Yao analyzed the information calmly. Don't panic. This is exactly what we expected. Split into 2 groups. Wenrenting Hai, Qiyuan, you and the demon race's 4 experts pursue them eastward. Strike immediately after midnight, 4th quarter, to verify their identities. If it's Zuoqiu Hongting, don't engage her. Let her go and regroup with me immediately. If it's Li Wei, contain him from a distance. Avoid direct combat until I arrive for the final confrontation. Wenren Tinghai bristled inwardly. 6 first sequence powerhouses, augmented by 6 blood-floating pagoda demon armors, should have been enough to crush any opposition. But faced with such a critical mission, he suppressed his impulse and acknowledged Kuyao's strategy. Clutching a spiritual crystal, Li Wei raced through the night, pausing occasionally to maintain his stamina. He refrained from summoning the 5th Phoenix and 7th Phoenix to carry him, unwilling to reveal any vulnerabilities. Instead of heading directly for Crescent Moon Pass, he detoured 500 miles off course. In the desolate wilderness, a full moon hung high in the sky, its silvery light blanketing the vast expanse of mountains and rivers. The horizon stretched endlessly, and frost had already formed on the knee-high wild grasses, their brittle stems snapping underfoot. Far behind him, the ghost marsh pung bird remained a tiny black speck on the horizon, relentlessly tracking him. Wenren Tinghai, Xuanhuan, and the other 5 elite cultivators, their bodies covered in talismans, streaked through the night like 5 trails of light, impossible to shake off. If I used the 10-star treasure bow borrowed from Zhongsheng Academy, I might be able to kill one of them before they activate their blood-floating pagoda demon armor. But, Li Wei glanced ahead, his eyes filled with worry. As the night deepened, the starry sky ahead was gradually swallowed by inky black nether clouds, marking the boundary of the nether realm of the dead. 100 miles ahead, atop a distant hillside, Chong Yujian had already set up a jade table, drinking alone. He called out from afar, "Brother Wei, the Zhongsheng Academy's movements have revealed your route. Someone among them has secretly informed the Demon Kingdom. No matter how you change direction, your general course remains unchanged. I've been waiting here, resting and prepared, for a long time. I won't invite you to drink with me tonight. The battle is about to erupt in 15 minutes. Ahead lies a deadly ambush, enemies on all sides. You'd be wise to choose another path. Whether you are Li Wei or Zhuoqiu Hongting, drain this cup. Swords have no eyes, show no mercy." Li Wei didn't change course, didn't pause. As he sped past the summit of the hill where Chong Yujian stood, he called back a resounding, "Very well," and plunged straight toward the nether realm of the dead, his heart resolute as he faced a clash that everyone believed he had no chance of winning. Gulp. The wine shot down his throat like an arrow. Chong Yujian slammed the cup into the jade table, embedding it there, then rose abruptly, summoned the azure jade ancient sword from his ancestral field, and joined Wenren Tinghai, Xuanhuan, and the others in a fan-shaped pursuit of Li Wei. Li Wei had anticipated this ambush and remained calm. Even without the Zhongsheng Academy's interference, the Demon Kingdom could have predicted his general route and positioned forces ahead. Chong Yujian's claim that someone from the Zhongsheng Academy secretly informed the Demon Kingdom was merely a psychological tactic, exploiting the fate of the Void Ruins ancient kingdom and the Academy's past history of high-ranking members defecting to the Demon Kingdom. This forced Li Wei to maintain his guard against the Zhongsheng Academy. Tonight's battle would be a distraction for the Zhongsheng Academy forces. Whether Li Wei could break through depended entirely on himself. The nether realm of the dead in the 4th quarter of midnight drew ever closer. The surrounding terrain had transformed into a swamp, overgrown with dark green aquatic plants and thorns. The murky, crimson water reeked of decay, and the shores were littered with bleached bones. Sensing an anomaly, Li Wei abruptly halted, his afterimages overlapping into a single, blurred silhouette. Several miles away, gray mist swirled silently. Whoosh! The heavenly eye opened between his brows. 2 skull-headed spiders were revealed, one perched on a rocky islet in the swamp's center, the other suspended 100 jong in the air. Ahead, the air was densely woven with spider silk. Cloud spider, abyssal spider, Li Wei recognized the 2 notoriously vicious rare insects. Without a doubt, the abyssal spider had already spun its web beneath the swamp as well. It was common knowledge that the Chong clan kept a king-tier strange insect, the abyssal spider king. But Li Wei hadn't expected the abyssal spider to have spawned offspring within its century-long lifespan. These 2 were undoubtedly Chong Yujian's allies. The spiderweb spanning heaven and earth wasn't spun by them, but rather a spiritual artifact crafted from the abyssal spider king's silk, invisible to the naked eye. It could be carried at all times and deployed instantly. No matter which direction Li Wei moved, he was bound to encounter the spiderweb. Once he charged in, he would be instantly ensnared, the web tightening with every struggle, making escape impossible. In truth, any other martial mystic Dao expert without Li Wei's formidable psychic power cultivation and perception, even Tang Wanzhou or Mo Duanfeng, would have seen their immortal ascension competition end the moment they entered. Instead of forcing his way through, Li Wei detoured westward. Since these spiderwebs were spiritual artifacts, they couldn't possibly cover an infinite area. He should soon find their boundary. The moment he moved, the cloud spiders and abyssal spiders within the web began to swarm across the sky and ground. Behind the web, within the gray cloud mist, a large contingent from the Chong clan faction also mobilized, their movements punctuated by the whoosh of wind and the thud of footsteps. After charging westward for 5 or 6 miles, Shenji intercepted him at the edge of the spiderweb. The talisman light on his azure Taoist robe flickered, illuminating an 8 trigrams formation spanning hundreds of feet beneath his feet. Shenji sat at the center of the 8 trigrams great formation, a table before him piled high with yellow paper figures he had just cut out. The paper was crafted from the skin and bones of the martial mystic Tao Heavenly Emperor, refined with spiritual crystals. I've long heard of the Calamity Crossing Temple's profound Tao techniques, and how their puppet technique of animating paper figures rivals even imperial techniques in power. But can these paper dolls truly stand against me? Li Wei sped past the edge of the 8 trigrams great formation, hurtling toward the waterlogged terrain and gray mist that marked the nether realm of the dead. Shenji sighed softly. If it were just me, using paper soldiers against you would be futile. But tonight, they will ensure your inevitable defeat. Suddenly, a resounding horn blared from the darkness. The horn was blown by Shen Jian, the strongest warrior of the Yunshu Cloud Ruins life realm. The sound waves shook the air, condensing into visible tidal waves of energy. It was now 1/4 midnight, and the Lantern Festival had passed. The battle had begun. Swish. Swish. 3 miles away, the gray cloud mist on the opposite shore of the marsh was scattered by the wind. 12 immortal ascension beings clad in bronze armor stood in a circular battle formation, each wielding a city-shattering bow. Divided into 3 groups, they unleashed 12 arrows. With the city-shattering bow's power, each arrow could pierce the defensive formations of a county-level city and shatter its walls. Enhanced by the battle formation, each arrow's destructive force reached its peak, rivaling the full-strength strike of a 4th realm great immortal expert. Whoosh! More enemies, even stronger ones, were closing in from behind. Li Wei dared not pause. Activating the clear void cicada chasing step, he moved with the speed of cicada buzzing, darting through the rain of arrows. His figure split into 7 or 8 afterimages as he dodged with all his might. When evasion failed, he drew his sword and slashed. Boom! Each collision between sword and arrow reverberated like thunder, sending shockwaves of energy rippling outward. It's Li Wei's true form. Qi Jianru's voice echoed from the darkness. Leading a team of immortal ascension beings, he arrived in a sword formation. Tell Ku Yao, Yu Zan, and Cao Lin to disengage from Zuoqiu Hongting and surround him immediately. Simultaneously, a surging battle intent and dense formation glyphs converged above the 12 immortal ascension beings wielding city-shattering bows, coalescing into a 12-jong tall bronze giant. The bronze giant's light and shadow radiated an increasingly potent aura, escalating from the 5th realm to its peak, then surging into the 6th realm, its chi reaching terrifying extremes. Wielding the soul bow intent arrow, it locked onto Li Wei's soul spirit. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yan Zhuo and Zhao Tang, Li Wei's comrades from the Shaoyang division, transformed into twin streaks of starlight, rapidly closing the distance within 10 li, carrying formation platforms and ancient immortal bow racks. Their bows surpassed the city-shattering bow in power. Their arrows rivaled the ancient immortal sentinel arrow. Their cultivation had already far surpassed Li Wei and Tang Wanzhou's before, and with the aid of the Chun silkworm cocoons, they had advanced to the peak of the 4th realm. Holy Commander, surrender now. You have no chance of winning, Zhao Tang shouted from afar. Yan Zhuo drew back the bowstring, formation glyphs spreading in concentric circles. Holy Commander, please. If you surrender, I'll sleep with you tonight, I'm not joking at all. I'm afraid you'll die in this battle. T.N. Haha. Indeed, it seems a good offer and a great tactic. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6, The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 60, 735, A Long Night. 60th of Volume 7. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. Yan Zhuo, born into the demonic path and backed by the Demon Kingdom, had no choice. Zhao Tang's ancestor had struck a bargain with a demon lord of the Demon Kingdom, exchanging favors for mutual gain. The Demon Kingdom hadn't needed to coerce or tempt them. For Zhao Tang's ancestor and Yan Zhuo's master, it was a simple matter that yielded rich rewards. Ironically, this might prove to be the root of their downfall. Li Wei had no time to respond to them, fully understanding the principle of, each serving their master, bound by duty. A palpable sense of impending doom emanated from ahead. Every hair on Li Wei's body stood on end, as if death itself were staring him down. There, in the opposing battle formation, a 12-jong tall bronze giant drew the soul bow to its limit, distorting the surrounding landscape. Li Wei was still a mile away from the 12 immortal ascension beings wielding city-piercing arrows, leaving him no time to intervene. Several members of the enforcement group materialized on a distant mountaintop. Among them, a sentinel spirit army expert observed, a mile is nothing for the battle formation's soul-infused arrow. It will strike in an instant, impossible to evade. Just as most transcendents predicted, once the battle begins, it ends. Within the arrow formation, an anomaly occurred. Sizzle. A shimmering, multicolored speck of light materialized among the 12 immortal ascension beings wielding bows. The speck rapidly expanded, transforming into the phoenix-winged moth emperor, 7th Phoenix. Earlier, when Li Wei encountered the spiderweb, he had activated his heavenly eye and glimpsed a formation of immortal ascension beings in uniform battle armor lurking within the gray mist behind the web. While he couldn't penetrate the web, 7th Phoenix could. It was at that moment that 7th Phoenix slipped through the spiderweb, concealing herself among the 12 immortal ascension beings wielding city-shattering bows before the arrow formation could be fully deployed. Boom. Splat. 7th Phoenix unfurled her membranous wings, razor-sharp as blades, and swept through the tightly packed battle formation. The nearest immortal ascension being had his throat slashed open, blood gushing forth. The second and third immortal ascension beings swung their bows in desperate parries, narrowly escaping death but suffering severe injuries. One had his scalp torn off, while the other's jawbone was shattered by a claw strike. The fourth, fifth, and sixth immortal ascension beings evaded with body techniques, deploying standardized circular battle formation shields to block 7th Phoenix's membranous wings. The battle formation had been shattered. The 12 jong tall bronze giant blurred and twisted, its sole intent arrows veering off course and whizzing past Li Wei. Beware Li Wei's rare insect. Do not let it infiltrate the formation. Shenji's voice rang out. He pursued Li Wei relentlessly, his feet treading the hundreds of jong-wide 8 trigrams formation. Raising his arm, he remotely wielded the myriad inscriptions artifact, the mountain measuring ruler. Shenji's master, seeking the demon monarch's opportunity to elevate him to heavenly emperor, had naturally bestowed upon him this major artifact for assistance. Li Wei dared not pause for even a breath. Any hesitation would trap him within Shenji's 8 trigrams formation, plunging him into a quagmire of bitter combat. Without looking back. From the wind mansion point on the back of his head, the purple heaven thunder seal shot forth, colliding with the mountain measuring ruler's phantom image and neutralizing the attack. What a formidable rare insect. This ambush is practically unsolvable. One dead, 2 critically wounded, yet they refuse to concede. The 2 severely injured have been taken into the captain's cosmic pouch for healing, an enforcement group member recorded. Another member of the enforcement group sighed, these are immortal ascension beings, each with the potential to cultivate into transcendence. I never imagined one would fall so quickly after just first encounter. 7th Phoenix failed to expand her kill count. The remaining 9 immortal ascension beings, veterans of countless battles, reacted swiftly, their movements fluid and precise. They reorganized their formation, shifting from a 12-person arrow formation to a 9-person shield formation. Li Wei is here. Deploy the 9-fold shield force. After repelling 7th Phoenix, tens of thousands of scripture characters erupted from the 9,000 inscriptions artifact shields, converging to intercept the 108 Thunder Strike Sword Radiance strikes. The scripture characters and concentric formation plates coalesced into a massive, lake-sized circular shield of light, unleashing a 9-fold shield force. The 108 Thunder Strike Sword Radiance strikes instantly dissipated into nothingness. Amidst the thunderclouds and lightning mist, Li Wei soared over the circular shield of light in the heads of the 9 immortal ascension beings, nearly escaping the encirclement. Southern Dragon, take my sword. The voice of Qi Jianru, the second highest expert from the Calamity Crossing Temple, echoed through the battlefield. 100 jong long sword of light slashed horizontally, like a celestial river blocking the path. Qi Jianru's skill far surpassed that of the 12 immortal ascension beings in the arrow formation. His timing and angle were impeccably precise, leaving no room for evasion. Li Wei activated the purple heaven thunder seal hovering above his head to defend. Boom. The 100 jong long sword of light erupted with irresistible force, sending the purple heaven thunder seal flying backward. It crashed heavily into the distant ground, causing the earth to sink beneath it. Qi Jianru stood within the Ice God 10 Swords formation, flanked by 9 immortal ascension beings. The 10 figures formed a perfect circle, their bodies interwoven with dense formation patterns and glyphs. Qi Jianru stood at the forefront, the sword strike he had just unleashed drawing power from the entire sword formation. Qi Jianru narrowed his eyes, scanning the empty air for Li Wei's figure. Glancing down, he discovered that Li Wei, despite the dangerous situation, had managed to escape the purple heaven thunder seal and drop to the ground, evading the sword formation's lethal strike. Such astonishing reaction speed was truly terrifying. No sooner had Li Wei landed than the cloud spider swooped down from above. Its body, several times larger than a human's, bore a grayish-white skull-like head and was encased in silver-scaled armor. Its razor-sharp spider spears pierced toward Li Wei's wind mansion acupoint, ancestral field, and throat. From beneath the ground, the abyssal spider thrust its own spears at Li Wei's legs. The 2 spiders coordinated their attack with deadly precision. As larvae of king-tier strange insects, their combat prowess was naturally formidable. Bang! The 5th Phoenix burst forth, smashing into the cloud spider and shattering the killing formation above Li Wei's head. The two rare insects tumbled across the ground, their sharp claws clashing and striking. In the half-month since obtaining the Emperor Medicine Herb, Li Wei had naturally fed it to them. The cultivation levels of the 5th Phoenix and 7th Phoenix had already reached the mid-4th realm. Boom. Li Wei unleashed spiritual qi with both light and dark attributes from his legs, breaking free from the abyssal spider's ambush beneath the ground. With a thunderous stomp, he channeled seismic force into the earth, severely injuring the spider and forcing it to flee in disarray. Yet, Li Wei was given no chance to escape the encirclement, not even a moment to shift his stance. Whoosh! The spear-like arrow Yan Zhiro had fired traversed several miles in an instant, arriving in the blink of an eye. Li Wei exerted every ounce of his strength to execute his body technique, narrowly avoiding a strike to his back. The arrow still grazed his shoulder, its tip blocked by the violently flashing crimson runes of his blood-floating pagoda demon armor. Even this glancing blow struck him like a heavy hammer, sending Li Wei flying sideways, tumbling across the ground. In that moment, Li Wei profoundly understood Chu Yudian's predicament from that day. How could anyone, even when fully engaged in combat, possibly defend against an ancient immortal sentinel arrow fired from such a distance? The situation he faced today was many times more dangerous than what Chu Yudian had endured. The blood-floating pagoda demon armor's defense is truly formidable, Li Wei thought, unharmed. He circulated his spiritual qi once, alleviating most of the pain and numbness in his shoulder, and swiftly sprang to his feet. He recalled how, outside the immortal forest near Night Demon City, he had captured Shen Jian only after striking him 7 or 8 times to shatter the blood-floating pagoda demon armor. The armor's defensive capabilities were clearly extraordinary. Just as Li Wei regained his footing, he found himself enveloped by Shen Ji's 8 trigrams formation, shrouded in divine silence. Shen Ji, wielding the mountain measuring ruler, materialized behind Li Wei, hovering above him. Clad in the blood-floating pagoda demon armor, his body was covered in blood glyphs and demonic qi, while the mountain measuring ruler blazed with boundless radiance. He was activating the myriad inscriptions artifact, channeling its power into a single, devastating strike. In contrast, Li Wei had just been struck by the arrow, his footing still unsteady, and his back turned, a position of utter disadvantage. Given this disparity, it seemed impossible for him to withstand the attack. Yet, the instant Li Wei sprang to his feet, he turned with fluid grace and slashed out with his sword, colliding with the mountain measuring ruler. Boom! The ground beneath Li Wei's feet shattered, sending earth and stone flying into the air. He had blocked it. A perfect stalemate. In the Fate Gambling House's immortal ranking bets, Shen Ji had a slim chance of claiming the top spot, despite the staggering odds of 299 to 1. This reflected his status as a pinnacle of power, clearly distancing him from other first-sequence immortal ascension beings. Even in a one-on-one duel, Li Wei would struggle to defeat him within 10 moves. With Shen Ji donning the blood-floating pagoda demon armor, killing him or inflicting a crippling injury became nearly impossible. In the next instant, both fighters shifted their tactics simultaneously. Each unleashed a palm strike. Shen Ji's strike manifested as the 8 trigram seal. Li Wei's heaven-turning palm seal relentlessly pushed Shen Ji backward. With each retreating step, the ground beneath Shen Ji's feet exploded. Forcing Shen Ji back 17 steps, Li Wei's palm force, amplified by explosive shockwaves, sent him hurtling 30 jong away like a cannonball. The golden cloud thunder seal followed closely behind. Just as Shen Ji regained his footing, the colossal thunder seal descended. Divine radiance erupted from his feet as he retreated rapidly, raising his measuring rod to block the strike. Boom! Shen Ji was sent flying back to Li. Even with the blood-floating pagoda demon armor, the impact left him reeling. His arm, still gripping the rod, trembled violently. Li Wei retrieved the purple heaven thunder seal from the ground, pivoted halfway around, and slammed it toward Qi Jianru, who was attacking from behind. Bang! Qi Jianru's sneak attack struck the purple heaven thunder seal. With a whoosh, the formation patterns coiling around Qi Jianru pulled him back into the sword formation a mile away, evading Li Wei's counterattack. The speed was akin to teleportation. He arrived like teleportation and retreated like teleportation. What a formidable sword formation. It completely compensates for the battle formation's sole weakness, its slow movement speed, Li Wei remarked, activating his heavenly tribulation movement technique to pursue. Shen Ji circulated his spiritual qi, restoring his arm. The 8 trigrams formation beneath his feet rotated half a circle like a millstone, positioning him beside Li Wei. He swung his ruler again, striking downward. You won't break through. Beyond the arrow formation and sword formation lies the strongest floating pagoda formation tower. Surrender now. Don't fight anymore. Do you think you can take on an entire nation alone? Do you think I'm unaware of what I'm doing? Li Wei retorted. Unifying psychic and martial mystic intent, Li Wei unleashed the Shi Yiyan, slamming Shen Ji, clad in the blood-floating pagoda demon armor, into the earth. The ground split open for dozens of feet. At the bottom of the massive crater, blood streamed from Shenji's nose and mouth. This strike would have cost any ninth-generation immortal ascendant dearly, let alone Shenji. In his eagerness to land the blow, Li Wei reacted a split second too late. An arrow fired by Zhao Tang from afar nearly pierced his thigh. Simultaneously, as Li Wei focused all his energy on attacking Shenji, Qi Jianru seized the opportunity to strike, his sword cleaving down on Li Wei's back. Li Wei blocked with his sword. The force erupting from Qi Jianru's blade was overwhelming, like a mountain collapsing. Li Wei slid his sword to deflect the impact, his feet treading on both light and darkness as he shifted his stance. Before Qi Jianru could be dragged back by the formation's traces, Li Wei seized his sword arm. Li Wei had been waiting for this moment. With his right hand, he thrust his sword into Qi Jianru's ancestral field. Bang! Qi Jianru was hurled backward, the blood-floating pagoda demon armor blocking the sword's tip but failing to absorb the shockwave. His abdomen burned with agony, his ancestral field's spiritual qi in chaos, leaving him temporarily incapacitated. One more strike at this moment would surely kill him. But surrounded by enemies, how could he possibly land another blow? From the distant sword formation, the swords of the 9 immortal ascension beings flew toward him in unison. The 9 blades transformed into countless icy sword qi, forcing Li Wei to retreat. Simultaneously, the 9 warriors shifted into a shield formation, unleashing 9 shields. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.